I'd like to open this video by saying that I'm a Laker fan. I'm not necessarily a LeBron James fan. As a matter of fact, when he was on the Miami Heat, I had a very similar reaction to him as Julius Erving does right now. I really didn't like the guy. I thought he destroyed the balance of the league, and bear in mind, this isn't really how I feel about him now because I understand why he did what he did. But just so you guys get some context, this isn't me just blindly taking one side over the other. This is me doing a thorough evaluation about a controversial topic that a NBA legend that I have great respect for said about another future NBA legend. So do me a favor and slap a like on that like button for the YouTube algorithm, subscribe and turn on our notifications because I'll always bring you the news. This video is also sponsored by Geology, but we'll get to that a little bit later. And now that we got all that out of the way, cue the intro. Mic check 1 2 1 2. What's going on, everybody? We're in an era where it seems like media is rewarding ridiculous hot takes, and if you happen to be a former NBA legend, well, people are going to favor you a little bit more. Earlier this year, Shaquille O'Neal probably got the most heat and probably the most recognition for pretty much roasting each and every player in the NBA, from Anthony Davis to Dwight Howard to Donovan Mitchell. It eventually came off as, here's a guy that obviously is frustrated that he's no longer in the NBA, that's still trying to grab some headlines. And bear in mind, I grew up in a Kobe and Shaq era, and I love Shaq. You started to see this happen more and more as time went on. You see people like Paul Pierce on ESPN giving ridiculous takes such as,
tail of the tape. Both NBA Finals MVP. You have him in career points. He's got more playoff points. You are a more clutch shooter overall. He's got more playoff points. Paul, riddle me this. Who's the better NBA player?
That's easy. I can say that off the bat. That's me. If you give me Shaq, if you give me LeBron.
They did. Called a big three.
We got that late. But like early in my career.
I mean, what are you doing right now?
If you give me these guys early in my career.
Let me ask you this. What would have been a perfect time for you, Paul? Let's make sure we get this right.
When I was 24 years old,
okay.
You give me Shaq. When I'm 24, 25, you give me LeBron and Bosh. I'll be sitting on 5 or 6 championships. Easy.
And what that does is cultivate a culture that rewards ridiculous hot takes that get a lot of clicks, likes, retweets, and you know what I'm talking about, a ton of engagement. And I don't necessarily know if this take over here from Julius Erving is one that also should be included in that list. So for those of you guys that don't know what I'm talking about, Julius Erving went on a Yahoo Sports segment called Posted Up and was asked who were his top 2 all-time NBA teams. And this is what he had to say. His first top 5 team composes primarily of players that were superstars before the Common Era. All of these players on his first team played at a time where there wasn't even a 3-point line. And while I do want to say, hey, this is kind of embarrassing that he doesn't want to pay homage to the modern NBA, I don't want to discredit this top 5 list because the reality is the NBA was a completely different game in the times that Will Chamberlain, Bill Russell, the late Elgin Baylor, Jerry West, and Oscar Robertson all played the game. At the same time, you have to see this in the lens of Julius Erving. This is a man that probably grew up watching these guys play. His second list is pretty much the opposite. He did play in the NBA during the time that Kareem Abdul-Jabbar was dominating and during the early part of Magic Johnson and Larry Bird's career, but for the most part, the second list is all composed of players that came after or during his prime. Julius Erving retired in 1987, by the way, so there's no Kobe Bryant, there's no Dwayne Wade, there's no LeBron James, there's no Shaquille O'Neal, and I'm not saying that they deserve to be on this list, but you know, you look at this list and you just think no LeBron James, and immediately, obviously, the narrative is going to be Dr. J didn't include this generation's greatest player on this list. And that's fine. If you don't want to include LeBron James on this list, then more power to you. But the reason why he didn't include LeBron James on this list is really what rubs me the wrong way. And bear in mind, this is someone that really didn't like the decision LeBron James made at the earlier part of his career. You know what else I don't like? Acne and oily skin, which is why this video is sponsored by Geology. Growing up, I had an acne condition that was so severe that it absolutely crippled my confidence. It was really difficult to make friends. I didn't even think of approaching girls. This was an obstacle that I had to deal with for a good portion of my life. And that's why today's sponsor, Geology, is so near and dear to my heart, because finally we found a skincare brand that gets it right. So Geology is a simple skincare routine that's formulated for daily use. And what sets them apart is they're literally personalized for your skin and the benefits that you want to see. And what I mean by that is, if you want to use Geology, the very first thing they make you do is take a 30-second diagnostic quiz so they can create a regimen that's specifically catered to you and your skin. After that, they give you a 30-day trial of your personalized skin regimen that contains a everyday face wash, a vital morning face cream, a repairing night cream, and a nourishing eye cream. The cool part of this is they give you 2 bottles of the face wash, so I put one in my shower and I leave one in my gym bag. And once your trial's done, you get to continue with 90-day supplies of the products that you love the most. So head to geology.com and take their free skincare quiz to save up to 40% off on your 30-day trial, or just click my link in the description down below. That's geology.com to save 40% off on your 30-day trial. And thank you, Geology, for the sponsor. So Julius Erving said that the reason why LeBron James isn't on either of his top 5 teams is because he led the charge in terms of super teams.
Well, you look at, LeBron and, anybody he sort of picks with him to be, playing with so many guys. He's the guy who has led the charge in terms of super teams being put together. Yeah. When he put together a team in Miami, basically put together a team together in Cleveland as well, and put together a team in Los Angeles or whatever. So he could pick his own team. I ain't gonna pick his team. Not bad about LeBron.
I really hate when people say that. Like, it really drives me nuts when they say LeBron James created the super team. Yeah, it's not like Bill Russell's Boston Celtics weren't a super team. This is a team that literally was composed of John Havlicek, Tom Heinsohn, Sam Jones, and Bob Cousy, and Bill freaking Russell. And Bill Russell is literally on his starting 5 for his top team. We're gonna ignore the fact that Jerry West, Will Chamberlain, and Elgin Baylor didn't all team up together as well during the 1970s. Magic Johnson literally had the #1 overall pick in the 1983 NBA draft, the most transcendent center in the NBA at that time, as his running mates for the Showtime Lakers. And here's the thing that drives me the craziest. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar left the Milwaukee Bucks after winning a NBA championship with Oscar Robertson to join the Los Angeles Lakers, who pretty much were playoff contenders but weren't really threats for a NBA championship until they got Magic Johnson. And I guess you could give LeBron James some heat for leaving the Cleveland Cavaliers following the 2009 NBA season and winning the MVP after leading them into the Eastern Conference playoffs as the #1 seed and joining the Miami Heat. But do you know who's the only other player that left their team after winning an MVP? Moses Malone. Do you know where he ended up going? The Philadelphia 76ers. And here's the thing. Tell me if this narrative sounds very similar. The 76ers were coming off of a 4-2 loss in the NBA Finals against the Los Angeles Lakers, who were getting dominated by Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. So the Sixers were already a pretty freaking dominant team. And guess what? The year that they lost the NBA Finals, Bobby Jones was named an NBA All-Star. The year after, Julius Erving finally won a NBA championship. And take a look at the players that made the All-Star game that year. Just the starters were 3 members of the Philadelphia 76ers: Maurice Cheeks, Moses Malone, and Julius Erving. And then when you look at the bench, you have Andrew Toney. So 4 members of the Philadelphia 76ers ended up making it to the All-Star game that first year that Moses Malone came over. Now, if you want to include the fact that Bobby Jones was an All-Star the year before, Pretty much Dr. J was on a team that had 5 combined all-stars on it at once. So there's blatant hypocrisy going on here. Like, I don't think you understand how stacked this Sixers team was. They had Maurice Cheeks, Bobby Jones, Andrew Toney, and Julius Erving, and they had the reigning MVP join them. And like LeBron James, Moses Malone really gave it his all when he spent some brief time with the Buffalo Braves, but eventually went to the Houston Rockets, stuck there for 6 years, it didn't work out for him, and then he finally joined a contender which benefited Julius Erving. Very similar to LeBron James, who was drafted by the Cleveland Cavaliers. The Cavaliers couldn't really get him much help, and in a desperate attempt to make sure that his prime doesn't go to waste, he decided to join the Miami Heat and form a big three with Chris Bosh and Dwayne Wade, which, I'm not gonna lie, destroyed the balance of the NBA, but I understand why he did it. So to say that you're not including or you're not respecting LeBron James because he led the charge in super teams is very unfair, because Julius Erving himself is a direct beneficiary of the super team. He'd be ringless without a super team. So let me know in the comment section down below what you guys think about this. Aside from that, I'm your boy Mike, and I'm dropping our mic until our next upload.